These things expunged yet?
Oh, no. These things just got expunged 2 months ago.
Okay, so you go and take the bar, go to law school, become an attorney, become a state representative, and this stuff is still on your record.
Still on my record.
So I'm sure that your opponents had to pull this stuff up.
Absolutely. They went and found my victim from 22 years ago, and she did an interview with Fox 2 News. Of course, she didn't tell the full story. She told her version of the story. But yeah, and then I go on Fox 2 News to tell a little bit of my version of the story without pointing the finger and accepting accountability. But yes, it still was coming up 22 years after I had committed the offenses.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Pattern Disruption Podcast. This is the show where we break through the noise and we dive into the stories of those who've shaken up the game. I'm your host, Eric Rhymes, and every week I'm gonna bring you real, raw conversations with entrepreneurs, educators, entertainers who've went from the shadows to the spotlight. So if you want to learn what it takes to rise above the rest, you're in the right place. Let's break some patterns and start the show.
What up, y'all? It's your girl, Just Hilarious. And when you want to listen to something real nice, you got to log into my man podcast. What is it,
y'all? Let's get this rolling. This should be a good one. Trust me. I've been looking forward to doing this one. It's just so amazing to see one of your peers rise to levels and be amongst the likes of Judge Greg Mathis. She's been with the state representatives, just doing great things. And, I have a daughter myself, and I like her to have examples of greatness. So I definitely wanted to highlight Judge Yancey this morning. But we're going to get into the show. I appreciate everybody being here. We'll be here about an hour. I'm trying to get right to the point. If it's any questions that you have, put them in the comments, and I will ask them. Yeah, just put them in the chat and I will ask them. So Judge Yancey is a dedicated public servant with a strong background in law and community advocacy. A native of Michigan, she began her career working with the Wayne County Executive's Office and Wayne County Land Bank before earning her Juris Doctor in 2012. After passing the Michigan bar, she joined the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, where she served until 2017. In 2017, Yancey transitioned to public office, representing Michigan's first House district in the state legislature. During her tenure, she was known for her dedication to social justice, advocating for policies that uplifted her community. In addition to her legal and legislative work, Yancey is also a passionate advocate for second chances, using her own life experiences to help others navigate challenges and move forward. Today, as a judge, Yancey brings empathy, fairness, and commitment to justice to the bench. Her journey from attorney to judge reflects her deep-rooted belief in the power of resilience and public service. Let's welcome Judge Yancey to the stage, y'all. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we want to welcome you here this morning. I know you're busy, even on a Saturday. You said that you had to host a birthday party yesterday, so I know, I don't want to keep you too long. But I do want to welcome you to the Pattern Disruption Podcast. I spoke with you about doing this, and I appreciate that you were open to it, because in your day-to-day work, we don't want to let personal, private, I know it's a lot of stuff going on where you got to keep it politically correct. So first off, I want to start with let the people know who Judge Yancey is.
My politically correct statement or my statement? So clearly, I am a judge at 36th District Court, a former legislator. As stated in my bio, I represented the first House district, which was the northeast side of Detroit, Harper Woods, Grosse Pointe Woods, and Grosse Pointe Shores. I went to the legislature after being an assistant prosecuting attorney for a very short period of time. And my entire journey has just been a testimony. I won't go through it now because it may come out in questions.
Right. Okay. Well, it is definitely. So I want to tell your age, but what year did you come out of high school?
1994, didn't retire.
94. Okay. So there are a lot of academics in Denby. It's a sort of challenged neighborhood. I was actually raised in the same neighborhood and still reside here. Were you a academic coming up?
I think I was for the most part. So my mother and father had always instilled education, although I was academia, but I was also a product of my environment. Prior to going to Denby, I went to Catholic schools most of my life. I had gone to Bishop Gallagher for 9th grade. I had gone to, parochial schools in middle school. And then when I got to high school, I went to Bishop Gallagher for a year, transferred to Southfield High because my mom thought that was like, the best of both worlds. And unbeknownst to her, probably the worst thing for a younger teenage girl who at that time it was long distance calls. My son's father was literally a long distance call. My best friend from high school was a long distance call. And so once I got to Southfield, I was miserable. I got kicked out of Southfield.
Wow.
Kind of on purpose, because I wanted to go back to Bishop Gallagher, and I didn't understand that what I had done in Southfield was going to prevent me from going back to Bishop Gallagher. So I ended up at Denby.
Yeah. Okay. So how was your upbringing? 2-parent household. How was your upbringing?
Not when I came along. I may have been the keep me baby, according to my sister. My dad was trying to keep my mom, so I came along out of that. But shortly after I came along, my father left or moved out of the home. We grew up on Camden. In the 80s, it was a nicer neighborhood. Obviously, now when I ride down the street, I can recognize my home. But he moved not far. He moved on Drexel. And so we still saw him on a daily basis up until 5 days before my 14th birthday when he was killed by a drunk driver.
Okay. Well, definitely sorry to hear that. I went through similar situation. My mother passed early on, so I know how that can be. What type of effect did that have on you? Did it change?
Yeah, I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know that was a lot of what I went through after that. That could have changed my life. And it did change my life. It definitely changed my life, but it could have changed my life for the worse. And for a period of time, I started making poor choices and decisions. I was literally mad at the world. I wanted to fight if you looked at me wrong. Typical East Side girl, I guess, what people would say, but you don't know the trauma behind some of the things that we go through. And so I was angry, didn't know what I was angry about, didn't have grief counseling. No one knew what grief counseling even was back then, right? Not in our communities. And so I lashed out, and I ended up doing things that were probably not things I would have done had my father still been alive. That's for sure, because he was a disciplinarian as well. And I ended up with 2 felonies and 2 misdemeanors on my record before I was even 19 years old. For sure, by the time I was 19, I was a felon.
Hold on. So the judge, who's now a judge, you deal with felonies on your record before you're 18?
Yeah. Before I was 19, for sure. I know I had at least one before the age of 18, and one may have come after I turned 18 or 19. And then I had 2 misdemeanors that were played. I was charged with felonies, firing a firearm into an occupancy when I was about 17. And I think it got played down. And then I got charged with assault with a vehicle or something, like felonious assault was the second charge, and it got played down to a misdemeanor.
Okay. Those sound domestic.
Yeah, so
It didn't sound like you were in a gang or
it
any of that.
actually wasn't me. Listen, I really take pride in saying I never was the type that wanted to fight over a boy. But when someone comes up to your job with a group of girls wanting to jump you, what do? You
Right.
defend it.
Right.
And so
Okay.
it turned into an ongoing feud.
Okay. And I'm sure that dealing with that on your record had to have some type of impact on you once. So, okay, so I don't want to move too far ahead,
Okay.
but so basically, this is right when you grad. Do you graduate on time? How did this work?
No, I had already graduated high school. I graduated
Okay.
from Denby in 1994. I was working at Imperial Sports. This may have been, was this after graduation? It was right around the same time that I was graduating from high school. I was dating a guy who worked at Sibley's next door. And apparently his girlfriend was away at college, and his real girlfriend, I guess, was away at college. I didn't know that I was the side girl. And so, but because I was around every day, I went to his house all the time. And so, because she was away at college, that could work. And so, when she came home, I guess she found out about me. She comes up to the job. She wants to fight me, and it took its course over time. So by the time I had allegedly shot her house up, it was I was probably 17. It was after high school graduation. It was definitely after my high school graduation.
Okay, so you did graduate on time and didn't have any problems with that.
No.
Okay. So in order for you to go into law, who were your early influences? Did you have anybody in the family that was police officers, judges, anything?
No, but representation matters. And I know we use that word and we use it loosely, but it really does matter, because I know for a fact that it was one of my former bosses, Kim Worthy, and unfortunately Claire Huxtable, that made me interested in being a lawyer. Right? They dressed nice. They were, very articulate. They worked, especially during the Malice Green trial. I was like glued to the TV as a young person during that time, and that was my inspiration to want to be a lawyer. And my mother used to say, "And you lie a lot, so you'll be a good lawyer." I'm like, no, that is not true. But I knew at an early age, probably around 10 or 11, that I wanted to be an attorney. I did not know that the choices that I was making was going to make it more difficult, if not impossible, for me to obtain that goal. And it wasn't until after the felonies were on my record that I reached out to a family friend who was Judge Mathis at the time. And he had a similar story. He was a juvenile conviction. Mine were adult convictions. And after being told, you probably won't pass the bar exam, by numerous people, he said, yeah, you may not pass the bar exam. It's a 50% chance that you don't, but you'll still have a Juris Doctorate degree that no one can take from you, and you can do a lot of things with that degree. And that encouragement is what made me take the step to go ahead and apply to law school.
Okay. And so what school did you go to?
College. I went to Eastern Michigan University. So I guess we should back it up a little bit. I got out of I went to Calhoun County Jail, and I ended up in Kalamazoo County Jail because my sister actually wanted me to come to Kalamazoo so I could stop getting in trouble, right? Yeah. But I kind of took it with me. And so I ended up in both county jails for about 60 days and then another 30 days, the longest 30 days of my life. I believe that the Lord really wanted me to get caught doing petty stuff, because some of the things that I was doing, I could still be in prison for. And so I look at it as a blessing that I was caught doing petty stuff, so I could have an eye-awakening moment to say I wasn't really about that life. Like, I thought I was from the East Side, but I ain't really about this life. I wanted to eat what I wanted to eat.
So you ended up in jail, had nothing to do with what happened with the shooting and stuff?
It kind of did, because now I had a prior conviction.
Oh, okay.
From those two incidents. A lot of it was happening simultaneously. To be honest, I try not to go into a lot about what she did or the finger pointing, but she actually filed a police report months after the alleged incident occurred. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized, like in my 30s, that I realized that she wanted me to be charged as an adult.
Oh,
So
okay.
she waited until after my birthday in August to file the charges. So now although I'm away in Kalamazoo,
Yeah.
I'm now picking up new cases here, but I'm coming back to Detroit simultaneously to work out the cases that are in Detroit or Wayne County, Frank Murphy. And I never told my parent or my mom, who was the only parent I had at the time still alive. And I never told anyone, really. I was just kind of going to court by myself at 17 years old, garnering pleas and entering into plea agreements that could have really altered my life.
Okay. So you're living in Kalamazoo.
With my sister.
Yep. But you're going back and forth, handling the case. You end up doing time for something that was done up in Kalamazoo.
Correct. In Calhoun County.
Right. Because of what your priors, that petty crime sends you to jail for a couple months.
Correct.
Okay. So how long? So at this point, they're probably looking at you as a problem child.
Who is they?
I'm just saying, like, at least
society. Yes.
Society.
Yes. I thought you meant my mom, but she never gave up on me. But yes, society is looking at me now as a problem child.
Yeah, I'm sure in her prayers, she's, you know, that she say, I don't know where she gets this from, but her she likes to live on the edge. Okay, so now you're in Kalamazoo. Have you started? So you get out of jail. Do you have any? Are your children born yet?
No, okay. Not until years after. I had him at 24. I was still 18 when I got out of jail.
Okay. Okay. So, and then from there, where do you go after that?
To school.
Okay, and this is when you go to school.
Like, do not pass go. Do not listen. I went back to school immediately, which is what my sister had taken me to Kalamazoo to do. But at this point, I returned back to Detroit area and enrolled at WC3D, and then I later transferred to OCC as in the paralegal program.
Okay. And so now you're in school, and everything you still have. Are these things expunged yet?
Oh no, these things just got expunged 2 months ago.
Okay, so you go and take the bar, go to law school, become an attorney, become a state representative, and this stuff is still on your record.
Still on my record.
So I'm sure that your opponents had to pull this stuff up.
Absolutely. They went and found my victim from 22 years ago, and she did an interview with Fox 2 News. Of course, she didn't tell the full story. She told her version of the story. But yeah, and then I go on Fox 2 News to tell a little bit of my version of the story without pointing the finger and accepting accountability. But yes, it still was coming up 22 years after I had committed the offenses.
Right. So that's a good way to pivot into, just for young people that don't know the things that you're doing right now, because you still made it to this place, but it would have been quicker, much easier, a lot less, you know what I mean?
It would have been a lot less embarrassing.
Exactly. But now at the same time, one of the reasons Judge Mathis is so popular is because of his story. So, that story, that's what people can connect with you, especially so let me go back to that. So you're an attorney. What type of attorney are you?
I was practicing in the areas of criminal law and family law on my own, but I'm still a full-time employee at Wayne County. And I worked in the county executive's office for some years. And that every single thing that happened to me happened for a reason, and I'm grateful to God for it, because I was fired from the executive. Well, when the change of guards came along, Ficano left, Warren Evans comes in, and it's he brings in his administration, and so I ended up reverting back to my civil service, a licensed attorney. I landed in the prosecutor's office as a paralegal. but I'm a licensed attorney. So although I had this criminal background, she allowed me to come there as a paralegal because that's where that was my civil service position. That was where the union was going to place me. Right. But because I was a lawyer, she said, I'm going to let you go on probation. If you can prove to me that you're worthy, then I'll hire you as an assistant prosecuting attorney. And that's when I became an assistant prosecuting attorney in Wayne County.
Okay. And how did you being a prosecutor? So you got people coming in front of you who've been through the same stuff you've been through.
Yeah.
How did that position impact you?
Obviously I had an understanding. I had a better understanding of, one, some things are done out of necessity. That wasn't my testimony. And then I also had an understanding that some people actually needed to go to jail, like I did, for awakening. It was a wake-up call for me in order for me to change my life around. I may not have turned around. I may not have gone back to school. I may not have made the right decisions had I not experienced what I had experienced. And that was one of the things that Kim Worthy said in my interview. She's like, well, why should I hire you? And how do I know that you're not going to see yourself in one of these young ladies? And I'm like, you want me to see myself in one of these young ladies because I know what I needed to do. And I know what I needed to experience in order to change my life. And I can kind of recognize that. Even on the bench today, I can recognize who needs what type of services you need, or do you need to just sit down for a minute? And I needed to sit down for a minute.
Wow. And you base that off of what you hear on paper. That's all you have. You don't know this person.
No, well, as on the bench, I definitely get to interact with people and I can kind of.
Right. Okay.
Attitude is a universal language.
Yeah. And you would think that people would come in there and be their representative, at least.
They're not.
But they're not. Yeah. Because personality, like you say, you can't hide. That's your default. So you can only hide it for so long. And then even if you're hiding it, but the paper is saying that you're a monster, it's like, okay, come on now, be real with me.
No, I was in the juvenile division for quite some time in Wayne County. And so there were times, and I was actually accused of being a social worker and not an attorney or not a prosecutor. Right. But because I was in the juvenile division, I had to actually tell the supervisor who said that to me. I'm like, I kind of am a social worker because these are children, right? And so when I read a report and I see that this child has been raped or passed around because his mother was addicted to drugs, and now he's being accused of rape, it's hard. It's really hard. I mean, but the crime was committed and you still have a new victim and you still have to try to change the trajectory of their lives, both their lives, right? Because both the victim and this person who's also a victim, because he's been a victim his entire life, he or she. So it's a balance. It's a balancing act. And again, and I would pray about a lot, probably most of the cases that I had, I would pray over. I would just have to pray about it because I still have a job to do, right? But I also could recognize there were times where I would have to go to a supervisor because I wanted this case to be dismissed because I don't know that there should have been a warrant issued, right? And it was a balancing act.
Okay, so I one question I want to ask you, but was how did being an attorney impact, I guess, that evolution into being a judge? So now you're on the opposite side. You get a better, I guess, in order to be a judge, you have to be an attorney first, correct?
Yes, you have to practice for 5 years.
Okay, you have to practice for 5 years. Okay, and then, so what type of judge are you now?
I am over the misdemeanor traffic division or cases at 36 District Court. So I don't do any gruesome felony cases. On occasions, I may take someone else's docket that have a little higher misdemeanor cases or cases that are getting bound over to circuit court. I've done those cases as well.
Okay. And what's been one of your most rewarding experiences in your career as a judge?
As a judge, I would say the most rewarding for me is trying to help people get back on track when when I can recognize that you've just lost your way and you really do just need a second or third chance. Sometimes for me, it was three or four chances that I needed. And so being able to identify it and being able to help to rectify it. But and I tell people all the time, you gotta want it though. You gotta want it for you. I want it for you. Like I want to help you, but you gotta help me help you.
And what keeps you motivated to serve with integrity and dedication after achieving so much, other than the money? What is it? What keeps you?
I think it's just embedded in me. I think it's just embedded in me to want to serve and to want to help other people, almost to a fault, right? I need to read. Yeah. I think that there's a book about the need to be needed or something like that. I'm like, I need to read that because I'm always trying to Joyce my. Like I really need to read this book because I find myself trying to literally save the world. If I could, I would. But it's only so much that I can do. But the integrity comes from, I don't know, the East Side raised me, right? And we're loyal by nature. We're just loyal people by nature. And I think that has a lot to do with it and never forgetting where I come from. I still have a bridge card in my wallet. It doesn't work and it's not going to work, but it's a constant reminder of where I've come from.
So with this election coming up, it is historic, definitely historic. How does seeing a woman of 30 something days or less away from being the president of the United States, how does that impact you?
I have to be very cautious about how I answer this question because as a judge, we're nonpartisan. And so so make no mistake about it. My disclaimer is I am not endorsing anyone in this race. Yeah. I vote for who I vote for. And of course, I'm voting for somebody who looks like me and who understands more about me than anyone else. But I'm excited to see the possibilities that are ahead. Right. I'm excited to see that.
Okay. Well, that's fair. In today's challenging social climate, how do you, because there are a lot of things that are happening today that have never happened before. We got social media. People aren't as engaged socially. They're on social media, but socially in public, people are not like that. Are you noticing anything different in people that are coming before you that you've never seen?
Kind of like well, two things I would say. I still do a lot of my cases virtually. And I do that because it gives people access to the court that they may not ordinarily have access to, right? And so you're able to get these ones resolved. You're able to come on Zoom and get a lot done instead of coming into the court. You don't have to pay $10 or $15 to park. And so I do a lot on Zoom, but there is some bittersweet moments to Zoom because when you're on a camera and not in the courtroom, you tend to think that you can be a lot more disrespectful to the court than what you would be if you were in person. So a lot of times I'm just like, just come in person. I'll see you on March 19th in person. Well, why I gotta come in person? Because you do, right? And so when they get in person and they're super humble in person. So I think that Zoom technology has, and even attorneys have said, you feel more comfortable when you're on Zoom and they find themselves not being as respectful or as they would if they were right there in the courtroom. It's a different
professional.
Right. And it's just a different atmosphere. And then the second thing I would say is, I don't know, despite of all the things that I have done, I don't know that I have ever been disrespectful to people who were older than me, like to my elders. Yeah. I was respectful to my elders. I did not, if I was cussing in a store and I saw somebody's grandmother, I would be like, ooh. I'm gonna be like, oh, F her. It is they're just different. They're very different. Very some. I do have a lot that are still very respectful and were raised right, but some of them I just be like, who raised you?
So if a young lady was watching this and she was inspired to want to get into law, what would you say the first step for her or him What would you suggest?
So the very first thing, obviously, your grades, in right now until you graduate from law school are important. So you need to make sure that you're studying and you're making the best grades that you can, because grades can alter and counter if you're not a great test taker and you don't do well on the LSAT. Those GPAs can help you get into a law school that you may not have ordinarily been able to get into. So I'll say that making choices for your future now, because those things that I was doing at 17 and 18, I had no idea that they could have prevented me from even becoming an attorney. So and especially in this day and age, back to your point about social media, everything that I did was not being captured on camera. It wasn't being recorded. And thank God,
Right.
because evidence is real, and I think that the lack of evidence in my case is what allowed me to be able to plead to a misdemeanor instead of a 5-year felony. A 5-year felony, I could have gone to prison for 5 years. So making the right choices and decisions and knowing that everything you do is being captured, even if it's on a Ring doorbell, it's being captured.
You being a mother, and at this point, grandmother.
Yes.
How do you approach that with having a Black son in the social climate that we have? How does you tell him to approach society now?
I've always told him to, of course, respect is something that you have to have. And I have a lot of people who come into my courtroom like, okay, but the officers did this and officers did that. And that may very well be true. And I'm not there to decide that. So what I used to tell my son all the time, and it's a shame that we have to teach our kids this, but hands on 10 and 2 when you get arrested. I mean, when you get pulled over, hands on 10 and 2, make sure they see your hands. Make sure you don't go digging for anything. Let them know that you're looking for your ID. Let them know what you're looking for. Because the flip side of that is I have seen cases where officers have been ambushed by someone, right? Because their hands weren't on 10 and 2 and they approach a vehicle that has tinted windows. So that is a reality for them as well. So I see both sides, but I want my baby to come home at night. So I make sure that he's respectful. I tell him, make sure that he takes down, don't ask for a badge number. If you can memorize it or get it later, but don't be cocky. Just don't be cocky. Make sure that your first priority is to make sure you return home safely. And then we can file any kind of reports you want to file after you get home. But you can't file any reports if you were wrongly done or wrongly, if you feel like there's some police accountability that needs to occur, you can't hold them accountable if you're dead.
Right, exactly. So how do you balance the weight of your responsibilities as a judge with maintaining a fulfilling personal life?
I think I balance well. He doesn't think I balance as well as I probably think that I do, because my phone rings constantly. And if it's not family, it is the community. And people have questions. And although I can't answer legal questions, I can, guide them in at least the best of my ability. So yes, I am in a relationship. I've been in a relationship for a few years now, and I don't display that on social media. My private life is my private life. And I think it makes for a better relationship as well. But in terms of being able to balance, I probably could do better. I'm so glad he's not here to hear this, but I could probably do better in terms of putting my phone down when I get home. I try to turn it on do not disturb so that outside factors do not interfere with my relationship.
Okay.
But I will say it wasn't until now that I've been able to have a really successful relationship other than my son's father. Of course, we were, that was teenage love, and we stayed together probably far beyond the expiration date. But this is the first time that I've been able to actually focus on someone else and not focus on me or my career, because I feel that I've reached the height of my career. I'm not there. I'm not where I want to be necessarily, because you can always do better. You can always do more. But I have reached a successful point where I can at least be satisfied.
Okay. Are you doing any mentorships for any young people or anything like that? And if so, how are you accepting any new young people?
I only have one now. I actually have a program. One People, One Place is a nonprofit organization that I am the president of, that we have been trying to, we have to do better in terms of getting the mentoring program off the ground and being in the schools. But I go into schools to educate. I share my story with young people so that they hopefully will not make some of the same poor choices and decisions that I have. And we also are at the point where we would like to start educating young people about what a crime actually is, especially when it comes to Romeo and Juliet crimes. That means a 15-year-old, 16-year-old, and the 15-year-old is underage. 16-year-old is actually the boyfriend or girlfriend, but they could still be prosecuted for criminal sexual conduct. They need to know that, though, right? Who knows that? I'm sure even older people may not even. Possession of child pornography in your phone. You have a 15-year-old girlfriend and she sends you pictures. That was one thing that I had to stay on my son about coming up. And it's like, yeah, she may have sent, well, she sent it to me too. Okay, so if she's in a jail cell next to you, is that going to make you any happier? No. Get it out of your phone, because teachers are mandatory reporters. And if you have a 15-year-old's photo, whether she sent it to you or not, it's still possession of child pornography. And so being able to educate kids about what it is that they're doing that they may not, I mean, it's obvious that, if you beat somebody up, that's a crime, right? But it's some things that are not as obvious, especially accessory crimes, when you're with someone and they commit a crime. So so that's one thing I would like to be able to do more of with the nonprofit. And then I have one mentor right now, or mentee right now. And we meet regularly, and she just graduated from an academy, a Michigan Youth Academy out in Battle Creek. I attended her graduation. We keep in contact. So I wouldn't say that I have the capacity for another one right now, but probably in the next 6 months, I can have a capacity for another one. And I have an open door policy. You can always come into my courtroom. I'm there in person on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. You can shadow me. I am literally the most accessible person. Probably too accessible, but especially for young people, I'm going to make the time to make sure that I'm available.
Okay. Well, that's great. I want to go back to, you said the Romeo and Juliet crime. Mm-hmm. So if a 15-year-old girl sends a 15-year-old boy photos,
he can be prosecuted.
Oh, okay.
Possession of child pornography. It doesn't say, the statute doesn't say that you have to be over 16 to have it in your phone. If you're in possession or a minor's photos and it's considered child pornography. But that's not Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet is the crime where it's criminal sexual conduct if you have sex with a 15-year-old.
Okay.
And you could still, I mean, they shouldn't do it. And I don't know that I've ever seen a case where they've done it, but you could be prosecuted as a 15-year-old, both 15-year-olds. You're two people who are non-consensual. So that would be statutory rape, because you have a non-consensual, or you can't consent at the age of 15 to have sex.
Right. Okay. What's next? Because, I mean, you become a judge in your 40s, like, you got a whole nother half left. What's next?
I tell my son that all the time. Like, you are 24 years old. You can have 4 careers right now if that's what you choose. But I really don't know what's next right now for me, because I am still learning and still getting to enjoy the space that I'm in now. I have some ideas of what I want to do, but I am not ready to share it with the world. I think you and I have talked about it, but I don't want that, because I don't want people to be distracted or think that I'm distracted, and that's my primary goal. I still want to make sure that they know that I have integrity and that I am treating individuals in my courtroom. And I say that I treat people the way that they want to be treated. Yeah, I treat people the way that they want to be treated, because sometimes the way you want to be treated is the way that you're treating me. So sometimes, I tell you a lot of times, you don't want me to match your energy, because if I match your energy, things are going to be a lot different for you than it is for me. So let's just keep it respectful. But I do have some idea of where I want to be next. But I don't.
Yeah, you don't really want to discuss it right now.
No.
Okay. But we talked about if a young person wanted to be in law, we talked about, you said good grades, go so you can get into the right school.
And then the steps to take. You want to know the steps that they need to take. Of course, undergrad, it doesn't matter what you major in it. Undergrad, I have a friend, Stephanie, you know Stephanie Carrington. She majored in Africana Studies at U of M, and she's an attorney. She's a licensed attorney today. I just happened to go into paralegal studies because I knew I needed to work through law school. And I thought that that would be the best environment for me to work in. But you can major in whatever you want in undergrad and still go to law school. You do have to take an LSAT, which is the law school admissions test. I believe that's what it stands for. I highly suggest Kaplan courses if you can afford them, or if you can get someone to I worked at Wayne County, so I got tuition reimbursement. I was able to get reimbursed for those types of classes, but it makes a difference in your LSAT scores, especially if you're not a great test taker. The LSAT has nothing to do with the law. I don't even know why they still administer it for you to be able to get admitted into law school, because it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with your test taking skills. And you never use it again once you're in law school. And then once you get your LSAT scores back, you start to apply at law schools and apply at all of them. I tell young people a lot of, other people's testimonies. Robert Thomas, I think is his last name. I hope I'm not messing his name up. I met him at Wayne State Law School studying because I had to study away from my law school, or I wouldn't have studied. I am also ADHD. I hardly ever talk about that, and I need to talk about it more so that people understand that there's a way to control that as well and still be successful. But I would go to a different law school because I'm easily distracted. And I met a guy at Wayne State Law School, and he told me how he would apply for scholarships that he knew that he may not even qualify for. But because no one else had applied for those scholarships, he would get the scholarship, right? So apply for scholarships. And don't be afraid to incur a little debt. Like I when I thought about going to law school, well, I had been thinking about it my entire career, even when I was a paralegal. But my boss at the time, who is now a very good friend of mine, Judge Darnella Williams Claiborne. And I remember saying, well, I can't afford it. What am I going to do? How do I pay for it? And she said, do you have a house loan? I said, yeah, I had just bought a house. And she knew I had just bought a house, and I had gotten a mortgage, obviously, to purchase a house. She said, do you have a car loan? I said, yes. She was like, so why not get a loan to invest in yourself? And it was the best advice and the best investment I could have ever made.
Okay. Yeah. But I want to go back to the ADHD thing.
Okay.
Because we don't get diagnosed in the Black community a lot. And it's considered as if we're just either problem children, thugs, all different type of titles we get because we don't get diagnosed. A lot of these guys that are doing crazy things and acting out, it's simply because they have some type of diagnosis. We don't go into therapy like other groups. How do you said something about you being able to control ADHD? Because I may have been ADHD, I may be ADHD now. How do you said you can control it?
Manage it. I would say manage it. I can't control that. But and I want to correct that it wasn't a diagnosis, and it's an evaluation. And so you don't get diagnosed the way that you would with like other mental health disorders. However, I was evaluated. My son also has it, and I know that there are some people out there who don't believe in it at all. That's because you don't deal with it, right? But knowing what I deal with, especially the older I get, the more I know I absolutely need to take Adderall. I have to take my Adderall. There are some, and find what works for you. Find the dose. Find if it's Concerta, maybe I think it's Concerta that you could take. Find what works for you. But seek a professional opinion. Make sure that you go to a psychiatrist to get evaluated, because if you are not truly ADHD, those medications can have an altering effect on your brain.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and it's very important. Go ahead.
I went to my doctor about it, and his energy just dropped. He was like, you don't need this, but I'm gonna give you the test. So I took the test, and I don't know if I kind of intentionally, subconsciously, some kind of way just made it because I wanted to try it because I heard that people were focusing a lot better. I don't know. But
you do focus a lot better, but when you are not truly ADHD, it causes a chemical imbalance. So I have a chemical imbalance, right? I already have and it used to be hard to talk about it, but I'm okay with it now because it's like, oh, something's wrong with my brain. I pride myself in being smart, right? But there's a chemical imbalance, and if you don't have that chemical imbalance and you take the medication, then you're causing a chemical imbalance, right? And you don't want to do that because it could cause depression. So I want to make sure that I'm clear about that. But if you truly are ADHD, I tell especially the young people in my family who and my girlfriend, I have a girlfriend who just refuses to take the medication, and I'm like, if you needed glasses, would you put them on? Yes. So Adderall is putting glasses on your brain. It makes me see things more clearly. It makes me be more focused. It helps me to make sure that I'm accomplishing things the way that I should be accomplishing things. And let my boyfriend tell it, it makes sure it helps to make sure I don't leave the garage door open or leave the stove on.
Okay. So because he did give me a low dose, I think he gave me like 3 milligrams. I was like, man, this is not gonna do nothing, man. But he did give me a dosage, and I remember I took it for maybe a couple weeks, and that second week, I remember being frustrated with somebody on the phone, and I said, I need to take my Adderall, my pill, and then that's when I was like, that could be something I'd be dependent on. If every time I get frustrated, I go to take a pill, you know what I mean?
And it's not a frustration pill. That's a Xanax.
Right.
I mean, medical professional. They may not even make comments like that, but I don't take it out of frustration.
Right. Well, when I said that, I felt it wasn't depression setting in, but I found that purpose can help you focus too. When you don't have purpose, a lot of times you are everywhere. You're doing so many different things because you want to be active. You want to be, you want to be taking care of your business. But when you don't know what to do because you don't have purpose, it can give you a lot of confusion and make you feel unsettled. So now that I got closer to more purpose, I don't even think about it because I focus on, that's all I focus on now.
Right.
It's purpose.
Right.
So, okay. We about at the top of the hour, but you said that what's next for you, you don't really want to discuss it right in this moment.
No.
I want to talk a little bit about you and Judge Mathis. You and Judge Mathis, he actually endorsed you.
Yes, he did.
And he went through his situation with his wife, and it was all over media.
He's always been nothing but professional. I've actually meant to send a text message a while ago, but when someone's going through something, you don't want to be that added text or that added thing to have to deal with. He's always spoke very highly of his wife. I know for sure that he loves his wife. But sometimes you get distracted, especially with the way that we talked about how I wasn't able to be in a relationship until I reached one of my career goals.
Yeah.
If I was trying to be a TV judge on top of that, right, which maybe, knock on wood, maybe someone will bless me one day, but I could imagine that my focus would be away from home. And if he gets upset about my cell phone now, oh my goodness, I would probably he would probably put me out because it is acting. And you have and like me, Judge Mathis is the type that wants to help people. Like he helped me. He did a commercial for me. That's time away from family, right? He's always trying to help people get elected, and he's helped in Governor Whitmer's campaigns. He's helped in a lot of campaigns that people don't know about. But that's time away from family. Not only time, but money away from family too. And and those things could cause a ripple in your relationships. And I'm sure that at some point people, your spouses or your significant others will get tired of it. And I know that it's a constant conversation because I'm helping everybody else, and sometimes he's like, what about me? Focus on me. And I did tell him, and I don't think he uses my code word. I did say, hey, if you ever feel like I'm not doing it, just send me the song "Focus on Me," by her. If you just send that song to me, then I will be able to redirect my attention to you. He doesn't do it, but that should be our code. That should be our safe word or our safe song.
Yeah. Byron Allen, Detroit native, TV
extraordinaire.
Extraordinary. Yeah, I don't even know where to put it because he's doing so many things. Owns the Weather Channel, but I think his company has the most court TV shows of any network. You said something about being a TV judge. That's not far-fetched for you. You have a lot of personality. You have a story. I don't know if he already has someone with kind of the same background. That wouldn't make sense if had the same two different shows.
Right.
But that's not far-fetched for you. So I look forward to you doing that in the future because especially if it's something you want to do. You've never been the type of person who wanted to do something and didn't
do it.
It didn't do it.
I really am. And because again, if there's a thin line between the professional me, being professional and entertainment, and I want to make sure that I do not blur that line. Again, if someone blesses me with that opportunity, I'll gladly take it. And I actually got elected. It's funny. This is funny though, because I got elected. I know I would keep in touch with Judge Mathis from time to time. And after I graduated law school, after I got let go of at Wayne County, my family and I, my aunts and I went on to the Judge Mathis show. And we went back to his chambers, the group of us, me, my aunts, two of my aunts, and a friend of mine from law school. And he had gone to Eastern Michigan. I was like, I went to Eastern Michigan. He went to U of D Mercy. I was like, I went to U of D Mercy. He had felonies. I was like, I have felonies. Now all you got to do is pass me this gavel that you have right now. So that's our, kind of our running joke. Like, I'm the female version of you. So go ahead and just pass me this gavel that you have. But I know that since then his show was discontinued. At least the Judge TV show was discontinued. So I kind of changed my focus. But he was like, we got to get you elected first. I'm like, say less. I've gotten elected. I've gotten elected. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I definitely appreciate you coming on the show. What, in parting words, what would you like to say for young people aspiring to do what you do, for people that are later in age who are just starting out and they want to do sort of what you're doing, get into the justice system? What would you say to them?
So I'll start with the older people first, because I don't want to forget that it is never too late. There's people in my family. My sister used to tease or joke about how people would be like, "You still in school? You still in school?" My sister is a principal at Bunch Elementary School, and so while she may have taken a long time to finish her degree, her undergraduate degree, her master's degree, and her PhD, she finished before anyone who has never started. So that's important to know, that you will finish before anyone who hasn't started. And I graduated from law school with one of my very good friends, book awarded every class. And she's about 10 years older than me, if I'm not mistaken. And she's living her best life right now. So it's never too late. And for young people, I would like to say, I remember my cousin telling me, and I was off the chain. I was off the chain, especially at 16 or 17. And I remember my cousin, he's since passed away. He used to tell me, instead of being at, what was that club, Rados? Because my sister is 5 years older than me, and we look a lot alike. And so she probably doesn't even know. She might know now, but I took her ID. Right. I took her ID, and she had to get a new ID because she didn't know where her ID was, because I needed to be at Rados on Sunday night. And I needed to be there. Right. Ray O'Shea. Shout out to Ray O'Shea. But I would talk to my cousin, and he's like, why don't you focus on school now? Focus on school now. You're 16, 17 years old. You can graduate. You go to college for 4 years, and then you can be in the club at the age you're supposed to be in the club, making $40,000 or $50,000 a year. And I just kind of blew it off. But that was the greatest advice I could have ever been given. And so for the young people, I tell you now, focus on your career now, because you can be in the club or wherever you want to be. You can be in Dubai, you can be wherever you want to be, because you'll be making the money that you want to make. And when you choose your career and you don't let a job choose you, you're a much happier person. You have a much better quality of life. And that's more important than what you think you want to do right now. I swear to you, I know I'm old and it doesn't sound appealing, but I swear to you, it is worth investing in yourself right now so that you can do whatever you want. Because I feel like, you say I'm in my 40s. I felt like I was 10 years behind because of all the things that I had to do and the obstacles that I had to overcome. I felt like I was 10 years behind. I was 10 years late graduating law school. So Stephanie was good in her career by the time I even applied to law school. And so don't waste that time, because you can do it now. Just do it now and don't stop until you're done, until you're accomplished what your goals are.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you too. All the studying, all the life happening at the same time, and then all of the student loans. And you're an advocate for taking a loan to better yourself.
I am.
Was it all worth it?
It was absolutely worth it. And there were times that I didn't think it was going to be worth it. There were times that I thought I was going to drop out of law school because my son couldn't really handle the pressure of me being away. He's only child. He's an only child. It was just him and I for the most part. I would call his dad, like, I need you to step up. I need you to step up because I need to finish school, right? And he's not feeling this. He's not feeling being at my sister's house every night. But he's grateful for it now, and he's better off for it now. And I had to have a conversation with him one day. Like, I can quit law school right now, but I'm going to be making the same $35,000, $40,000 a year. Right. And you're not going to be able to get every color Jordans. I can't afford it.
So did you negotiate with your baby like that?
I certainly did. I certainly did. Listen, I can quit because you are my priority. But I just know that we won't have the same quality of life. And it was absolutely worth every. And let me just say, and I hope I can say this without any ramifications, but my student loans were forgiven under this current administration. So you never know what will happen. You never know what will happen.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Boosted my credit score by 100 points because I don't have that that debt to income ratio changed drastically.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to say this. Very enlightening conversation. I appreciate you coming on this morning. I know you had a very busy day ahead of you.
This is my everybody. Son's birthday. Today is my son's
birthday. Well, happy birthday, young man.
Yes.
How old is he turning?
24. Tell
your age.
20. Okay. He's turning 24. I ain't telling my age.
Okay. So everybody in the studio, Judge Yancey, everybody, I appreciate her coming on today. How does one get in contact with you if they have questions, if they need, I know you can't give legal advice, but maybe for mentorship or anything of the sort, how can someone get in contact with you?
I will give my email address. I will give my personal email address. I think that's the safest thing for me to do, and the courtroom phone number. So the courtroom phone number is 313-965-2291. I would have my email address for work. I'll give my work email address. Oh no, that's not safe.
Yeah, that's not safe. Okay, so you gave the number to the courtroom.
That's probably the best. That's probably the best because I don't think that it'll be an overwhelming amount of people that want me to mentor them, right? Just keep in mind that my clerk is still trying to balance, the court docket for that day. But that probably is the safest way for me to give my contact info. And then anyone that you have my personal information, so you can always text me or call me. And I know half of the city of Detroit, so I can always get a phone call, text, or something from your cousin, sister, auntie, whatever, and then they'll put you in contact with me. That's the safest way for me for right now, because I know that this is being aired everywhere.
Well, most definitely, thank you for being here this morning. I'm gonna put you backstage, but hang out for a second.
Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye. Well, want to welcome everybody to the show today. Thank you for watching. That is Judge Yancey. She is one of my peers who has not only went from attorney, as you heard her story, she went from attorney to state. I didn't even really talk about state representative position to judge, and I am super proud of her. And I like to bring people on here that are disruptors. If that's not considered a disruptor, I don't know. I don't know how many people you know that went to Denby High School that became judges. I know there's a lot of people that are successful. I didn't get a chance to talk to her about sorority, if she's a part of sorority or anything like that. But, you know, at your request, disruptors, I will bring her back in or answer any questions that you need. In the future, if you have questions, because I'm sure it's something I didn't ask, I had a list of 30 questions and I think I got through about 10 of them. But keep showing up, guys. If you're not a part of my YouTube channel, please subscribe to the YouTube. As once we, as we expand on YouTube, the reach, because that's what this is about. I'm not doing this for fame. I'm doing this because I want to make sure that I can bring balance, positive content with a lot of the negativity that's going on. So if you're inspired by what we do and what I'm doing, please, put it in the chat. What's rewarded gets repeated. So for everybody that sends me positive energy, that allows me to expand the territory and bring more exciting people on. Because, if I reach out to somebody to be on the show, first thing they're going to do is to see what my reach is. So the more reach I get, the better content I can get. So I want y'all to go out, have a great day. Enjoy your day. Be safe, be blessed, make an impact, and continue to disrupt. I will talk to you later. Appreciate you guys.